Este trade antes de terminar el día de hoy de martes de frutas y verduras. Este es un marco de tiempo de 5000. Este es un marco de tiempo de 8100. Tomamos un pequeño descanso y vamos a sacar el marco de tiempo de 8000. Esta línea de tendencia es desde la mañana, compadre. Mira, ha hecho gran cosa más que un rango gigantesco. Vamos a borrarla, no, no me da ruido. Este sí fue un trade ganador. Bueno, vamos a ver qué nos depara el mercado. Pienso que el amigo va a venir. Lo mismo que está haciendo ahorita, está haciendo en la mañana. Así es que nos vamos con él en corto por 200 nada más. Nada más 200 para agarrar $800. Algo así como right now.
Order filled.
Vamos a poner la música sabrosa e irnos con este trade ganador con un buen sabor de boca. Señor.
Target feels Ricky.
Yo, Taco Phil Ricky's in the house.
Ya tuvimos esa oportunidad de otra cuenta aquí de mira, chula. Chula, compadre, chula. Chamo. C'est moi. C'est toi. Nous. Tu es froid. Soir. Ça. C'est toi. C'est toi. C'était moi, c'est moi. Fais la bonjour. Fais-le. Merci. Lo que vemos ahí, que el amigo realmente quiere, pero no puede, no te creas. Viene a comerse esta liquidez de esta misma colita, al menos el 50% de esa. Porque viene soportado por esta caída de esta vela, esta otra vela. Lo que está haciendo es normal, para dejar quizá una colita y después caerse. Ahorita para protegernos vamos a stop aquí a esta zona. Ahí, sin problema. Esta, como puedes apreciar, es una zona de 24.300 junto con la de 8.100 arriba. No ha pasado de ahí y no creo que pase. Así es que le ponemos un volumen en bajo. No escucho ni papá lo que está diciendo Rick. Entonces vamos a borrar esta. ¿Dónde estás, compadre? Acá. Perdió. Entonces, ¿qué decimos? El mercado viene a caerse, a comerse esta cola. Quizá el 50% de lo que es esta vela de aquí a aquí. Nosotros pues estamos ahí para comernos ese 50%. Y hizo lo mismito de la mañana, exactamente lo mismo. Así es que por la misma línea de pensamiento nos vamos a ir, compadre. Parece que lo estabas esperando. Pues no, pero te hacen evaluación y a esta hora ves esto, ya te vas hasta con esos $300, compadre. Facilito, entonces más sin titubeo. Sin titubeo ya hubieras agarrado ahí los 1000 a gusto en el día, en dos instancias, en la mañanita, y ahorita vienes por tu lonchecito y venga para acá. Pero bueno, así está. Entonces sí ha estado muy lento este amigo. Y bastantes colas extremadamente largas. Esa cola que dejó son como de $1000, ¿no? Vamos a ver, medirle rey. De aquí a aquí No, son 400, pero toda la vela son de 600. No, no es mucho, mira. Entonces, si nos vamos con 300, pues nos pone por ahí, un poquito más abajo, Rick, donde cayó, mira. Pero tú no, tú quieres tus 200. Pues sí, ¿no? Es que realmente no es tanto. ¿De dónde está para acá? Y para que a lo mejor deje eso que está aquí. Vamos al riesgo. No pasa nada. Y aquí tomamos $200. No, le damos un pedacito al pastel y ya. Sabe qué tanto tiempo se está arriba y qué tanto tiempo se está abajo, pero se ve prometedor. A pesar de que esté verde, se ve prometedor. Nos está asustando. Este es 8100. Vamos a brincar a 24300. Y mira, 24300. Patota caliente. Esta zona que hizo aquí, de esta mecha que está aquí, pues ya fue visitada. Ya vino, la tocó y ya la visitó. No la penetró, pero pues, no es nada. Para lo mejor se viene. Quien quite del susto se viene por esta. Esta ya no, esta ya la llevó y la saludó. Pero esta, es viable, es viable. Ahorita nosotros nos vamos por una mordida que se nos quedó la cerecita que dejamos en la mañana. Vamos a recoger ese brinquito, brinquito, brinquito. Aunque esta velocidad, pues me hace eterna a mí. 100, luego 280, 320. El break en 703, supongo que está, mira. 320, 380, y luego ahorita que 520. Mira, 520. ¿Dónde está 520? Ahí viene. No, nada mal. Nada mal. Cuando llegue abajo nos va a dar los $800 que buscamos. Una buena cenita. $800. $800 menos la comisión. O sea que 780. Así. Mira nada más que chulada. Mira, chula. Muy bien. Vientos humanitarios. Nada más. 520, 640, 680. Ah, no, toda falta 700. Uf, porque no, se le da un brinco, así un sopetón. Capum. A ver, mira. 740, 780 y estoy yo. Mm, 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 mm. C'est toi. Gabon. Dum, 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 dum. C'est toi. Gabon. Français. sus cuestiones, pero esto es. No, mi Frank. Entramos juntos. Ah, hijo. ¿Cómo estuvo eso? ¿Por qué a ti sí te lo dio? Ah, no, no te lo dio. Éramos igualito, cabrón. Igualito, mi Frank. Bueno, tú entraste 7-0. Deja veo. 0-3. Algo. Luego hasta 6-8-9. Ay, chingada. Entonces entraste un poquito después que yo. Sí, entraste cuando ya estaba esta raya. Ya. Yo entré en el segundo aire que dio. Muy bien, muy bien. I like it. Bien hecho, Frank. Bien visto. Bien visto, Frank. Good job. Y se ven 8100. Así están 8100. Un pelito de darnos esa ahí. Y por la segunda oportunidad. Mi querido Frank entró en la raya esta, la anterior. Él le dio el target. Yo estoy en la repetición de mi querido Frank. A ver si tenemos suerte. Me dice sí, cayó. See you later, alligator.
To The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session specifically designed for investors and day traders that might have impulses and urges. Now, the actual client that I was working with had been diagnosed with ADHD. They weren't taking any medication for that ADHD, and they were doing the kind of day trading which is very, very volatile, which is the very low time frame, the 1 minute, 5 minute time frames. Now, this has big swings, which is how traders make their money by predicting volatility based on technical analysis and patterns and trends, but it's also very risky. Now, where the risk comes in is if you follow a disciplined plan, you can almost make money guaranteed. But what can happen is that if the emotions take over, you can then erode your gains. And this particular client felt that they had put too much time in to be able to walk away. This is called a sunk cost fallacy. If there is an evaluation that because you've invested so much, now you have to continue to invest more. The other phrase for this would be chasing losses. Now, at some level, that's not always the case. It could be that what people are doing is accumulating more experience, more wisdom for the breakthrough. But what we need is a stop loss. So there's two elements here. One is that there's a hypnosis session all about them having the resources to be disciplined and focused. But at the same time, there is this idea that if they can't get to a certain level of discipline and consistency within a time frame, then they've given it a good go, but now they need to pivot to do something else. And it links to this misattributed Einstein quote that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. There are stop losses that are intuitive for traders. Most traders will have profit-taking levels and stop losses to avoid losing, exponential amounts. But at the same time, it's good to have a stop loss in life. That might be in personal things. It might be that you decide that you're going to pursue a career or self-employment for a certain period of time. That might be a certain number of years. But if it doesn't meet certain criteria by then you reevaluate if it's still the right thing to do. So there's a bit going on here. The person or the type of people that would benefit most will be day traders that have ADHD. But I would say everyone gets distracted. Everyone has impulses. Everyone is attached to doing things, even if it no longer makes sense to do them. So I want you to think about that stuff before this hypnosis session starts, so you really maximize the value for you. In terms of getting the best value for it, find a quiet, comfortable place, ideally the kind of environment that you're not going to be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of calm relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow your eyelids to close as you start to settle into that rhythmic breathing. When you breathe in for longer. And as you exhale, just allow that outward breath to continue for longer than it normally is. That's in. Breathing in relaxation, exhaling tension. And I want you to think of a place in nature. The kind of place where you felt very, very relaxed. Maybe by a beach, maybe by a forest, maybe by a lake. And I want you to imagine being out there. Imagine the sensation of sunlight on your skin, a breeze, perhaps even the smells of nearby things. And I want you to imagine that somewhere nearby in that nature is a table and a screen. And I want you to imagine on that screen is a chart showing green and red candles of the Nasdaq, the whole index. I want you to imagine staring into that screen and just allow that part of you that can hyper-focus to imagine seeing it changing in real time every few seconds. Every minute it shows a new candle and it's telling you information. And I want you to imagine that you allow that part of you to be focused on the screen. As I start communicating to a different part, a part that doesn't want the future to be an echo of the past, a version of you that wants to have that stimulation without the frustration, to have that excitement without the crashes. And I want you to imagine seeing a cloud up in the sky. Just keep that other part staring into the screen. It's the part that wants change now. And just imagine staring up at that cloud, and the cloud starts making numbers. And the first number is 999. And then just imagine that cloud shifts to make 998. Just imagine there is a analytical part confused by this. The hyper-focused part is staring at the screen, and the analytical is wondering how and why clouds are counting down in the sky like a giant countdown timer. Allow that analytical part to focus on the clouds, and then separate from that that part that still wants change, that part that really wants to make decisions inside structure, to follow a plan, to be free of chasing impulses, launching in because of FOMO. There are now 3 different versions of you out there in nature. The hyper-focus part, staring into the screen, locked in where time disappears. That analytical part, counting down a cloud in the sky. Maybe it's 994 now, or maybe less, continuing to watch it count down. And then the part that wants change. And just imagine there's a comfy chair there in nature, that part that wants change. Imagine sitting on that chair, or lying on the chair if it's a recliner, something comfortable. And I want you to imagine that that part doesn't want anything light or superficial. That part wants to go deep. So imagine sinking into that chair, eyelids getting heavier, jaw getting loose, and just focus on the very top of your head, almost like a high-powered torch is shining from your head into your brain. And just imagine your eyes focusing on where the light would be if it was inside your head. That's it. Feel your shoulders loosen, your jaw unlock, your forehead smooth, your breathing slow and steady. That's it. Focus on the light inside your head. And as you inhale, tension rises to the surface. And as you exhale, it slides down your body and through your feet. And just let your legs grow heavier, your arms warmer, your thoughts slower, as if your whole body drifts into that deep, absorbing state where focus becomes effortless and that sense of stillness and calm becomes easy. As you focus on that light there inside your brain, imagine relaxing your eyelids even more and changing that focus so the light is now in your chest. A soothing, relaxing light, calming you down. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens, and I wonder if you could imagine walking down a long, descending corridor that is filled with glowing lights. And every step down the corridor, your mind grows quieter, your body melts deeper, and the scanner mind just keeps noticing things. Maybe it's a message on the wall, a door unlocked, or a picture. Just keeping it gently occupied with the deeper mind starts to open fully now. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and you will imagine continuing to walk down the corridor. 10. Deeper and deeper. 9, 8, 7. Letting go. Continuing to walk down the corridor. 6, 5, 4. Sinking into the chair. 3, 2, and 1. Imagine a doorway at the end of that corridor. A doorway that leads into your own control room. A control room that can regulate things that are normally unregulated. Things like impulsivity and focus, a sense of control. but you're standing in front of the door at the end of a corridor that leads to that control room. And as I count down from 5 to 1, you will imagine opening the door, walking through the door, and then closing the door behind you. 5, hand on the handle. 4, turning the handle. 3, opening the door. 2, walking through the door. And 1, closing the door behind you. And you're now in a control room, a calm, strategic, high-performance space inside your mind. Not at the surface level, but deep, deep down. And imagine this room filled with screens showing charts, criteria, patterns. But I want you to notice something important. Every chart in this room moves slowly, deliberately, and predictably. There's no chaos here, no rush, no spikes of dopamine or adrenaline. This is a place where you can see the whole picture, not just flashing temptations. And in the center is a large switchboard, and 3 switches stand out. 1, impulsivity is now off, and if it isn't, switch it to off. 2, FOMO neutralized. That fear of missing out has made you make decisions that break your own criteria. So just imagine neutralizing FOMO so it loses its grip on your decisions. And most importantly of all, see a switch called criteria and switch that on fully. With impulsivity off, the noise goes quiet. Twitchy urgency dissolves, and that act now reflux shuts down. And when FOMO is neutralized, it's because you've activated patience. You don't need to dive in, because the nature of markets is that there will always be another entry. A missed trade, a setup you couldn't quite time, loses all emotional charge and power over you. You feel no fear of missing anything in the same way that you wouldn't be upset about missing a train if you knew for certain there would be another train coming along soon. Isn't it better to wait for the right train than to jump on to just any train and find that it's taking you in the wrong direction? But most importantly of all, criteria is
Order filled.
on. You know your criteria. What it takes to make an optimal entry. Clarity, precision, quality over quantity. Isn't it better to make 3 trades a day that are great than 10 or 15 average trades? Discernment is more important than just making a decision, because anyone can make a decision, but making a bad decision is costly. And that's why due diligence, discernment, and discipline means that when you do make a decision, it's more likely to be a great decision. So just allow that configuration to lock in, because the mind is now open to powerful, helpful, useful suggestions. I want you to fully embrace a new identity. Not an impulsive, chaotic, speculative, random trader. You are a disciplined trader. You trade your plan. You follow your criteria. And your system decides your decisions, not your impulses. And every part of you that once chased dopamine through impulsive trades now realize that the highest dopamine is earned from mastery, not chaos. And mastery comes from criteria, patience, structure, and control. And I want you to think of an old belief. Something like money comes easily, or money's easy to get. And for that to be true, you had to think of moments in your life where you made a trade, it went well, and suddenly there was a high return on that initial investment. But I want you to think that you can't cherry pick. I want you to get a sense that when it comes to trading, you can't say you made a profit on one trade if you made a loss on the other. And I want you to feel that all of the hours of study, learning, and experience, that means that money is a reflection of everything that's come before. All the hours of study you didn't get paid for, all of the hours of trading that didn't turn a profit. That is evidence to say that money can come easily, but won't necessarily. Because money rewards value being created for the world, or the ability to make discerning choices and take measured risks. Because money only feels easy when discipline is high, when criteria are met, when emotion is off and logic is off. The mind now rejects randomness. Feel it rejecting gambling energy. Feel it rejecting forced intuition that contradicts your rules. I want you to imagine that your intuition is only one ingredient of decision making. And when your intuition also matches your criteria, that's an ideal entry. But if either the intuition or the data is not quite right, you would rather not catch that train that is taking you to a place that you don't want to go to. So imagine feeling grounded and calm, aligned with your criteria, not in conflict with them. And here in this control room, feel that your unconscious mind is becoming ruthlessly strategic. A losing trade is just information, not identity, not hope, not rescue missions and not reloads. Any compulsion to make it back dissolves. Because you exit when the criteria says exit. With neutrality, with discipline, with clarity, with an air of professionalism. I want you to think of a pact, an agreement you are going to make with yourself. You've tried this trading, and the definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. So you are introducing a stop loss in your life. But beyond a certain date, and you know that date, trading continues only if you're making more than $10,000 a month consistently, and you're actually following
Target feels
the
Ricky.
criteria traders
Yo,
are
Target Phil
based
Ricky's in the house.
on criteria, not emotions and impulses. And this isn't punishment or a restriction. It's a performance threshold, a professional standard. If the criteria is met and the results achieved, then it makes sense to continue day trading with confidence and calm. But if either one is not met by the end of that month, your unconscious accepts the pivot. You will stop day trading. You will protect and conserve your capital. And you will move to a different form of investing or trading that doesn't operate on the same time frame. This isn't a failure, it's just strategy to avoid that sunk cost fallacy. Consider it, if needed, a mature pivot, a profitable path with less noise and more structure. Your unconscious calibrates 3 trades, not 6, not 9 or 10, not 15 or 20. 3 trades, quality trades, criteria aligned trades, and nothing else. And every impulse becomes a cue to just slow down. Every urge becomes a cue to breathe. And that intuition, that doesn't make the decision. It just helps to consider it. A cue to check the criteria. And when intuition matches criteria, you make the trade. Nothing gets executed unless it meets the rules cleanly. And as you start to think of that ADHD, think of it no longer as a saboteur. Think of it as your high-performance engine, where your brain enjoys structure, your brain enjoys rules, and your brain enjoys focus when the environment is right. And what if day trading becomes a structured challenge, where the game is not chasing the move, the game is sticking to the criteria? And what if that's where the real dopamine comes from now? Where the reward is discipline, not randomness. And I want you to consider that there are multiple ways to feed your impulsivity, and trading does not need to be that. Think of a future where you're teaching trading, explaining setups, helping others to navigate the charts. And what if that gave you way more satisfaction and dopamine than making a trade ever did? What if that becomes a future outlet? A pressure valve to release, a safe container for all of that creativity and spontaneity to find a home. You don't need chaos for excitement. What if you can get it from teaching, helping, mentoring, or just sharing what you've learned with the world? And what if that takes the pressure off trading to provide everything? And I want you to imagine floating through time to your stop loss, the final day of a month, and just imagine two paths. If the version of you is having those 10,000 months and is disciplined, then you see yourself continuing on that path with even more discipline and making even more per month. But if you don't, I want you to imagine seeing you strategically pivoting to something else, more profitable, that aligns more with your nature. Either future is desirable, but what decides it is your criteria and your performance, not willpower, not shame, not criticism or anything else. The criteria determines your future in the same way that your criteria determines a trade. And if your unconscious mind agrees, let me know by nodding your head. See that future version of you doing well in any timeline. Maybe swing trading, maybe day trading, but you are still calm, confident, disciplined. Impulses come, but so what? An impulse means nothing if you don't reward it with behavior. An impulse is just a feeling, and that feeling will pass. But just imagine now leaving that control room, finding yourself there in the corridor, walking all the way down to the other end of the corridor. And then imagine finding yourself on a comfortable chair out in nature. And as you leave the chair, you see two different versions of you. The analytical part staring into clouds. Maybe you can even see what number the clouds are saying now. And as you walk into that part, feel that the analytical, logical part is now aligned with your stop loss, your criteria, your strategy. And then that hyper-focus part still staring into a screen. Step into that, all parts merged into one, aligned with your higher self, the part that already knows the best way forward for you. As you leave the screen, feel you have so many choices, so many skills, so much knowledge. There is only one thing you're not willing to do, and that is day trade without discipline. If you day trade intuitively, recklessly, with impulses and FOMO, then it means day trading is not for you. But if you can, with structure, discipline, and discernment, you have permission to continue forever. So long as the criteria is there. And just imagine now floating all the way back to the present. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8. Open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10. Wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.
Yeah. A las 6 de la mañana. Para dormir con el hotel, para dormir.
No, wow, exitoso. Nada más, compadre. Hijo, eso, una máquina. Estuvo criminal. Pero bueno, good, good, damn job. Habéis logrado el éxito, compadre. See you later, alligator.